I do many drafts of drawings if I'm working with like a large organization. And that could take 2 years just to come up with a concept because there might be a relationship that has to be built or more information is coming.
Hey, it's Seb, a DJ here at Daybreak Star Radio Network, the only radio station indigenizing the airwaves. And I'm here with the wonderful Drew Michael, giving you guys a great interview. And Drew Michael, to start us off, could you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the great nation that you come from?
Well, hello. Thanks for having me. My name is Drew Michael, and legally Andrew, but I go by Drew. I'm Yupik and Nupiaq and Polish, and the Yupik people come from West Alaska, and the Nupiaq come from up north.
We have your gallery here at the Sacred Circle Art Gallery, the Water's Edge, and I heard that it was a big process getting all these art pieces together. And I heard that you worked with Ana Hoover in the environment to create these pieces. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the show poster, also the pin. I don't know if you have them in your shop there, but the show poster, Water's Edge, this is a panel piece. It's made of only like a 1/4 inch thick panel wood, and it was kind of scrap wood, and I didn't want to waste it, so I ended up building this panel piece called Water's Edge, and it had the feeling of the beach area in the Anchorage area. So Ana Hoover, one of my great friends, she and I went out to the Water's Edge right in Anchorage there, and we placed the panel on a stand, and we were able to match it up to the horizon, and it kind of feels like it lives in that space. So I know that the Daybreak Star has an original sculpture by John Hoover, maybe a couple, and it was kind of a neat story to be able to connect the different generations of the Hoovers to Daybreak.
I heard that you worked with Philip Blanchett from Pamua as well. And do you think you guys kind of influenced each other's work at all? Maybe mixing music and art in any kind of way, or did you guys piggyback off each other's work?
Well, yeah, Philip and Bamua, the whole team come from Bethel area, and I was born there as well. And I didn't grow up there; I was adopted out. But growing up, I saw Philip and the rest of Bamua perform in the schools and at different education events. But when I was growing up, that was kind of my first glimpse into how Yupik people danced with fans or gloves or with masks. And so as I got older, Philip and I started to take note of each other, and Philip saw my masks and he wanted to talk to me about how we could make these masks come to life and how Bamua could use them. And to this day, the only masks that they dance with are my pieces that we actually have a relationship where we kind of talk through the story or the imagery on each mask, and they all are being sewn together through a storyline. So we've definitely kind of pushed each other and helped each other. Traditionally in the Yupik culture, there would be like a story or something would happen, and then there would be a maker who would create the mask, and then there would be a performer. And so it's kind of we're reliving and reusing and continually using the traditional ways. We were kind of like woven into each other's lives, and it's a beautiful way to continue on telling stories through masks.
I was wondering, when someone looks at a large collection of your artwork or maybe a gallery, is there a certain feeling or message that you would want to tell them?
Every show that I have, every so often, when I have a collection of pieces or a series of pieces that are shown together, my hope is that people can slow down. The art and the beauty will capture them, and then as they are able to view the pieces and maybe read some of my label information, the stories of each piece, I hope that they can learn something from it. And with this Water's Edge, I hope that people can spend a moment. Even in my show statement at the end, I asked them to think about their connection to the water's edge, all the animals that come with that area, and give an offering, give some kind of respect and honor to the spirits that are around. So all of my work connects to what is known as Inua, or the inner spirit of things. So I hope people can walk away from each show and feel connection to that.
When you're working on a large project, such as, galleries or maybe doing grants, how do you kind of get into the mindset and create a piece? What does that process look like?
Oftentimes, if I am making my own piece, like a whole series, like for the Water's Edge, I kind of start out with one piece, and then I keep all the pieces in the same space. So as I'm creating, the story starts to form, and I might not have a clear storyline on a piece until I'm seeing a whole bunch of others start to come to life. I usually sit down and have kind of a piece of paper. I write out some different intentions or themes that I might want in a piece, so I can kind of focus on that. And I guess with the process, it's like I spend time meditating, finding the image, and then draw out a story or a map, a mask design, or whatever it is, and then I go from there.
Sometimes there can be, especially funded projects, there can be kind of a disconnect between what the artist wants to convey and their culture and what the grants or the funders kind of want them to say. Have you ever experienced like a disconnect in those two things?
As an artist, you want to have some kind of direction and theme, but I guess at different times, if there are too many ideas on the docket, on the table, about what needs to be in there, it can really restrict the creative elements. And I've had issues with that. But I've learned that the the more communication you have up front with like a drawing, if you're able to draw a piece and kind of show, this is what I think it's going to look like, this is my goal, these are the timelines and whatnot, I think it makes a lot more of a success. I do many drafts of drawings if I'm working with like a large organization, and that could take 2 years just to come up with a concept, because there might be a relationship that has to be built, or more information is coming through the process to change it.
How do you kind of stay motivated and keep the ball rolling over these multiple year projects that you do?
My goal is to be able to finish a project and make something that's beautiful. And I think that's a huge motivator, but also the themes of the pieces that I'm making, as I'm working with like every stroke of my carving tools, my hand tools, I'm like thinking about the people or the story of the mask, and in a way I'm like kind of praying over the piece. I don't usually work on like 5 pieces at once because I want to focus on that one storyline.
What would you say is the biggest obstacle you've had when working on a single piece?
I've had instances where I had to just put a piece away and you let it sit for a while. It could be a couple years, and at different times I try to crank through and force myself to just work on it and focus, and then I can kind of be done. I give myself little goals.
What kind of series of works would you create if there were no constraints at all?
I actually would want to buy up a lot of downtown Anchorage or like places that were like native lands originally, and put up monuments to honor the people who came before us, like a memorial for the peoples of every land.
You told me earlier about an endowment fund of yours that is housing Native artists. And can you just tell us how this whole process kind of got started?
Yeah, so the Drew Michael Endowment Fund, through the Anchorage Museum Foundation here in Anchorage. Um, I was at a point after I'd worked in the oil field, I had a 401k that I just didn't really want to use for me, and I didn't want to just have it go out to nothing. So I was talking to the museum about having them be the beneficiary of my 401k when I pass. And then as I was talking to the director, Julie Decker, she said, well, is there a focus or something that you would want to have for this money, this fund? And I said, yeah, I'd love to see some kind of residency program created. And so we came up with the idea of creating an endowment fund. We want to have one artist a year at this point come and do a residency 2 to 4 weeks. They would have housing, transportation, materials funding, and they'd have a space to work. The focus for the artists and residents is to create bodies of work that will connect to people, place, and ritual or ceremony. So I'd like to see there be some kind of interaction with the community so that that knowledge and culture can be shared and we can learn about how we live in the North as a collective.
Find a way to make a connection. Drawing in art is therapeutic. It allows us to work through whatever emotions that we're working through and allow us to have our own therapy on paper and not have to. It's a nonverbal